Good evening. I want to talk about andragogy, Malcolm's vision. I'm Bethany Daves, and I'm really excited about presenting this to you. So when looking at andragogy, it is important to understand the man who helped make the term popular, and that is Malcolm Shepard Knowles. He was born in 1913 and died in 1997. He was an educator and philosopher who thought deeper on adult learning. He helped make the term andragogy popular, and he was author of many books. He was also the professor of education at Boston University. So what is andragogy? It is equivalent to the term of pedagogy, which, it's important to now to look at andragogy and the definition of what it is. Andragogy is the opposite of pedagogy. Andragogy in Greek means man leading, while pedagogy means child leading. The term andragogy was first used in 1833 by Alexander Capp, but it did not become a popular term until Malcolm Knowles created his 5 assumptions. It's very different. When you think of man learning, that goes with the adult learning, while pedagogy goes with child learning. In previous classes, we spoke more about child learning. We focused on the child. Now we're looking at adult learning. How can we, as literacy coaches or literacy professionals, meet the needs of adults and reach out to them with the learning styles we have? So let's talk about Malcolm's 5 assumptions of adult learners. He originally made the first 4 assumptions in 1980. He made the 5th one in 1984. The 5 assumptions are: number 1, self-concept; number 2, adult learning experience; number 3, readiness to learn; number 4, orientation to learn; and number 5, motivation to learn. We are going to look at each of these and break them down and see what they mean. First assumption is self-concept. As children are influenced by their surroundings and the people that raise them. When kids grow up, they are able to become more independent and think for themselves. They keep some of the ideas of their influences when they were younger, but now they can also think of them for themselves and become more independent in their thinking. So as a person grows up, they begin to think for themselves and become their own person without the dependency of a parent or other outside influences. For example, teachers are an influence for children and how they think and the beliefs they have. So are members of a church they go to, aunts, uncles, grandparents, whoever is raising them and is important in their lives, make up what influences their thinking. Number 2, the second assumption is adult learner experience. As we grow, we take our experiences that we have as children, and that helps us continue to grow as adults. As Malcolm puts it, we kind of fill up this tank in our heads with our experiences. And we take what we have experienced and use it as a resource to continue our learning as adults. For example, how my mother raised me on what to do when I was sick influences how I treat my child when she is sick. But how I treat my child when she is sick may be completely different than my neighbor across the street on how she takes care of her children because she learned a different way than me. The third assumption is readiness to learn. Adults want to grow into their own persons, and when they find their own person, they want to work on themselves. We want to always develop as that's how we've morphed and evolved as adults or as people, is that we have grown. That's how we come with new ideas. Every adult wants to make themselves the best version of themselves. So as a person grows up and matures, they are more ready to learn. They become ready to grow in their social roles and are more open to developing themselves. This is why we have, new ideas today for different things that's going on. For example, we have so many small businesses opening up and entrepreneurs because people want to expand themselves and try things that are difficult. The fourth assumption is orientation to learning. As a person grows and matures, a person's perspective changes from one who does not want to apply knowledge to things to one who applies previous knowledge immediately. As a result, the learning goes from subject-oriented to problem-centered. This is where a person changes to a person with a subject-centered thinking to a problem-centered thinking. This is where the person is able to come up with quick solutions to problems they have. And finally, the fifth assumption is motivation to learn. As a person grows and matures, the motivation to learn comes from inside. They want to learn more. It's no longer being about that they have to learn something, like in school as children. It is required for you to learn and go to school. This motivation to learn is something that people want to do. For example, as people grow, they might like math better than reading. And so that person may want to become an accountant and grow in that field. Or history. Somebody might be into history and want to continue studying history. It just depends. So how can we apply andragogical principles when creating and delivering professional development? Well, first of all, when thinking about professional development as a teacher, they are not seen as something exciting for most teachers. Most teachers do not get a say on the type of professional development they do. However, most times teachers do not get, they don't get the chance to choose that. So being able to have a choice into it makes it more relevant for the teachers. By giving them teachers a chance to choose it, they get more of a say in their learning. And one way of doing this is give out a survey ahead of time to help get an idea of what everyone wants to learn. This goes along with the second assumption. We want to make it relevant for everybody. Another way to make it where it fits, it helps create and deliver professional development, is to make the needs of the adult learners, to make it engaging. Adults have a short attention spans as well and should only have so much whole group instruction, just like children do. It needs to be a type of professional development where the adults have hands-on experience and can problem solve. As adults, and as we've seen, just from the course of me being a child and seeing my parents as adults and so on and so forth, technology has become a real play. Everything is kind of instantaneous nowadays. That is not how per se our professional developments need to be, but our attention spans are very low. Sometimes we don't want to look up things and we don't want to take the time to do things. So by having a professional development that has hands-on things for us to do, this goes along with that fourth assumption. How the adults do things that allow them to problem solve. One professional development I did, we had to go out and do a scavenger hunt and find something in the school and bring it back. And we went against our support staff, like our principals, our administration, and it was the teachers. And I ran for the teachers to find something. And I went against our literacy coach. And that was a lot of fun because that's something I'm going to remember from that professional development and something I'm going to continue to hold on to. So, what are the best practices to do professional development? 1, make the PD complete in a sufficient amount of time. So when doing professional development, it's important that the professional development is done in a good amount of time. It should not be something too long or something that's going to drag on over the amount of time set. I know a lot of times when I've been in professional developments, my coworkers are like, oh my goodness, we're going past the time we said. And people have things to do in their lives. It's not just something where we want to sit and go over time. So do not go over and keep it long enough for engagement. This can lose people easily. The second thing is to make sure there's modeling and demonstration being done during the professional development. There's not need to be just talking. By having visuals and demonstrations allows people to stay focused and engaged to the professional development. You want to be able to give time for people to look at things, maybe to visualize things, to ask questions. That keeps people engaged with the professional development. The third thing is to keep people engaged during the professional development, because what we're talking about. It's try to make it entertaining and for the adults listening. Try to ask questions. Make sure people are focused on the professional development by asking questions within it or giving short brain breaks. Or I've been to professional developments where they gave out door prizes. They told you to check under your chair for a sticker. They gave a snack time, a break time to discuss. That helps make it a little bit more easier for the teachers and the other adults in the room to be able to focus. And finally is looking at bias. How can bias affect the presentation of professional development? It's important to make sure that as a presenter, you are not hitting anything that may hurt others or strike nerves, or that it doesn't relate to everybody in the room. Not everyone has the same background as you, the presenter, and they definitely don't have the same background as the other people in the group. One thing to look at is implicit bias. Implicit bias refers to the attitudes and stereotypes set with people. It's important to be aware of these stereotypes and realize you may have this type of bias, because as a presenter, you don't want to come into the room. For example, one thing I do when I'm in my classroom, just because I feel like that's another place you present and there's an issue of bias, is the beach. Not every child has gone to the beach. You don't want to talk about the beach like everybody has been there. So it might confuse some others when you say beach because they haven't been. Just like if you mention something that you've done in a classroom as a presenter, well, other teachers may not have done that or are interested in it. And that draws people away because they feel like they can't relate to you. And then these are my references. I really enjoyed doing this slideshow. I really hope you enjoyed listening to me. Thank you again so much for watching. Thank you.